You know what? The list is out.
What list are you so excited for?
You know, the only list that matters until Spiel.
Oh, that's right. You're talking about the Board Game Geeks Gen Con 2024 preview list.
Oh, yeah, you got it. So let's preview what games that we are excited for at this year's Gen Con. Welcome to WiscoDice! Heyo, folks, I am your host, Conesy with the most, and I am joined today by...
Hey, I'm Suzanne.
And today we're going to get into the most anticipated games that we're excited about at Gen Con 2024.
We scour the list as soon as it comes out from the Board Game Geek Gen Con preview list, which we'll link in the show notes here, to see what is coming out, what we want to check out, and they're always adding to this list.
Yeah, absolutely. So there will be games added to this after this video comes out. If there's anything that excites us, we'll let you know in the comments below.
So,
While we're covering this list, we will not be including games that we already have played, like we own a copy of, and we are not going to be including any expansions.
and we are also not including any games that we talked about on our podcast show. So if you haven't listened to our podcast show, make sure you do so. We're going to make sure we link that for you.
It's up there somewhere.
So yes, we're going to get you games, and more games to check out at Gen Con.
There are plenty of them.
Yeah.
But before we get into our list, what should folks do?
Oh, you should definitely smash that like button. And also subscribe if you haven't already.
And don't forget to let us know in the comments below what games you're extremely excited for at Gen Con this year. So Suzanne and I will be at the show, so we will be checking out and providing additional coverage of these games via our social media as well as on this show and our after Gen Con wrap up. But first, our first game on the list is not an actual board game at all.
Nope.
Trust me, the rest of these are, but is from my friends over at Gooey Cube, who are going to be at booth 2243, and that is going to be the new adventure module for Dungeons & Dragons 5e, Terror at Genzacon. This is the third in the series of installments of their Genzacon series of adventures that are able to either be linked together, stand alone. And the beautiful thing about Gooey Cube products is that they are Game Master friendly, so that you have handouts and player aids for all the NPCs and encounter locations in the adventure so that the players can really help visualize those components. They also have plenty of helper materials for the Dungeon Master, setting aside things like combat blocks and etc. in separate materials from the main story arc of the adventure.
Yes, and this one is for which levels? Levels 8 through 11.
Yes.
So my character right now in my Gooey Cube adventure is a level 1. So I will look forward to hopefully playing this later in the year.
Or you could run something like this as a one-shot or something else like that. So we'll see when I get around to running it. So that is Terror at Genzacon from Gooey Cube at booth 2243.
All right, so we're going to move to the other end of the vendor hall. And in booth 837 is Leader Games. And they have a great game. I think it's a great game called Arcs, which is actually out for purchase now, we found out. But it's on my Gen Con list, and I will be checking it out there. Leader Games is also the same publisher who did Root, and so some of the mechanics, like multi-use cards, which I love, are in this one.
Item Root.
Oh my gosh. And that is why we don't play Root as much as we should in the house. Anyway, but this one is set in space. So they say it's a space opera. And so you're basically battling it out in space with your fleet. And it looks really cool for me. I enjoy the art style that they have also for Root. And this looks similar to that. So that is Arcs by Leader Games in booth 837.
All right. Well, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Arcs, you're going to find our next game, Frozen Frontier from Arcane Wonders in booth 629. This game will be available for retail purchase so that you can pick it up at the show, which is pretty awesome. And basically, it's another one of these games where oh no, the Earth is overpopulated and we need to find a new planet to put all these people and for people to be able to sustain and grow and continue to have more peoples and all of those kind of good things. So, of course, we found a livable planet, and now we're playing out the scenario, getting people off of Earth, exploring and settling this new planet. Now, there's a little bit of a downside about this new planet because one side of the planet faces too much solar radiation or something like that, so it's not habitable. But the other side of the planet is frozen and dark and whatnot. But that is where humanity can habitate. So that's where the whole frozen frontier is. And so you're going to be basically moving your little carrier ship around from locations to collect funds, and then you're going to collaborate to settle the various locations and create science and tech buildings and other structures, and also those structures then will contribute to upgrades that make you more efficient at doing certain things, yada yada, and then ultimately, at the end of the game, whoever has done their best at settling and whatever will be the winner. So I'm really curious to see how this game really looks in person. It looked like it has, just from the pictures, some great table presence. I'd like to understand how it works mechanically a little bit better. But this is definitely one of those sci-fi games that definitely has piqued my interest, at least.
And mine, too. If this was a movie, I would definitely be watching it. So therefore, it's a game. I have to check it out. However that logic works, it works.
Exactly. So that is Frozen Frontier from Arcane Wonders. They'll be found in booth 629. Go check them out.
All right, and not too far away from the Arcane Wonders booth is the Lucky Duck Games booth. They are in booth 157 this year, and they have a game called Tranquilty for sale. And this is a cooperative game where you are trying to ascend a mountain, and you have numbers that you need to work through the players so you can put them in the correct order to climb up this mountain. It sounds kind of simple, but I'm, expecting something that has some game to it, so I want to check that out for that reason. But I like a variety of games, and having ones that are kind of just relaxing to play. This is called Tranquility, so I'm thinking it might be a relaxing game to play. So.
Yeah, hopefully. And, there's always a good balance in our collection of more complex and crunchy, heavy Euro games and lighter games and games that are just kind of like, hey, today we had a rough day at work, let's just play this because it's a little lighter or a little less on the, calming.
You're not as competitive with the other players, so we can work together because my husband does need
I don't always
like
losing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Tranquility by Lucky Duck Games in booth 157. Go check them out.
All right, our next one is going to be Voidfall from Mind Clash Games. This one, coincidentally, all of these games seem to be in roughly the same general section of the exhibition hall, but this is going to be in booth 365. This will be available for demo only. This is the first of our demo only games on this list. This game will be slotted to come out in November, I believe, is what it's indicated right now on BoardGameGeek. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll be available to people. I'm not sure if that'll just be to backers or if backers already have it. I'm not 100% sure, but it does seem to be coincidental timing with Essence Spiel, so there is that. So this is a 4X Euro-style game. So with traditional 4X games, you're doing things like exploration, where you're discovering the map, you're having battles either against neutral opponents or against the other players. You're developing science and technologies so that you can advance your civilization. So there's all of these things that are going on in the game. So it's always a dynamic and interesting, different experience. And I'm really interested to see how things like their deterministic combat mechanics work. Because that's usually something in a lot of these 4X games, you're chucking dice. So really curious to see how that's going to work out and how that and how this game really plays, because I can say, like, from all of the theme and the images we've seen, I am really pumped to actually check out, and I really regret not backing this back in the back when it was running on crowdfunding.
Yeah, I do too, and I somehow missed backing it, I think is what it is, because I signed up through the crowdfunding platform to get updates about the game, and I keep thinking that I did back it, but
I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of those games back then that you were a little tentative on pushing the trigger on because of the dollar amount on the game. And that is long since been eclipsed.
No, it's still I have my limits depending on the game and the designer and publisher. So,
anyways, that is Voidfall from Mind Clash Games. They'll be at booth 365. Check this one out. I think this is going to be one of the bigger games to release this year.
All right, so let's take a trip back to the Arcane Wonders booth. We have Kraftwagen, Age of Engineering. That is there, and it's published by Sumac Games or Arcane Wonders, depending on where you are in the world. So this is, again, a demo. If this name of this game sounds familiar, it's because it's a re-implementation of the game by Matthias Kramer. And it's described as having, some updates and being a little less with luck than the original. I have never played the original game. This, though, sounds really cool because you are competing with the other players to develop engines and bodies for cars and create the most competitive range of vehicles on the market. And you also get to race them at some point in the game. So, yes, now every time you go look at it, you will see his goofy face in there. But I like games about cars, and it has some neat, just the look of it, the table presence has some neat bits and pieces on it. So I just definitely want to demo that game. So this is Kraftwagen, Age of Engineering at the Arcane Wonders booth number 629.
All right. Well, after a little car racing, it's always good to go a little bit further back in history, actually a lot back in history, as we explore Æterna from Ares Games at booth 541. This game is again available for demo. This is a game that's by one of our favorite publishers, Martin Wallace. So we're really excited to see this one. At least I am. Of course, I'm also really pumped about the theme because it's going to be playing out in the Roman Empire, and you're playing out roles trying to influence the empire into things like conquests and building out various regions, etc., etc. I'm really interested to see how this game is going to work entirely. There's a lot of things into this game that all hit like little triggers that want me to just find out more, but I haven't done enough research or found enough materials on this game to really understand exactly how it fully works. So I'm really excited to see how this one works, and then I'll be keeping it, assuming I'm continuing to stay excited for it, I'll be keeping an extra eye on it and maybe adding it to our collection when it comes out for retail. That one is going to be Æterna from Ares Games at booth 541.
All right, so moving away from history, and we're going to go into fantasy world now. Moon Bunny is next on my list by Hot Banana Games, and they're on booth 2319.
Not to be confused with Hot Potatoes.
Yes, definitely not the Hot Potato Games. So, Hot Banana Games recently had I believe it was their first game published, and it was Steam Up, which I saw at Gen Con a couple years ago and immediately backed as I was standing there. It's just this, the components were so cute. Like, the upgraded components have like little squishy pieces of dim sum and everything in there. And it has a nice mechanic. It's one of these easy to learn, but there's levels of difficulty with an asymmetric player ability. So we're not doing a review on Steam Up, I know. I really enjoy the game, if you can't tell. So I'm hoping Moon Bunny has some of the same feels with it or same production quality. This is where you are sending your bunny assistants through the lunar landscape to gather rare herbs. So, I mean, how more magical could that be? I don't know. I really want to check it out. We need more cute games.
I will say, like, I was a little skeptical when you were talking to me about Steam Up, and I said, okay, well, we'll go see it, open mind, I'll go see it. And then I saw it, and I was definitely encouraging you to back it because the quality of the components and the table presence of that game, I thought it would be really cool to have in our collection, and I don't regret that at all. So I'm now, just like you, kind of curious, knowing that Hot Banana Games is publishing this, and that there is some of that uniqueness in the way I think they approached Steam Up from a components perspective. I want to see what they do here, how it's going to work. Their demo was very, I wouldn't say the demo of Steam Up that we saw was really a true demo. You weren't actually interacting with anything, but it was a great overview and explanation of the game and an understanding of how it worked. So I'm really interested to learn more about this.
Their demo team did an amazing job explaining the game and selling it and, getting you interested in it. So anyway, that is Moon Bunny by Hot Banana Games in booth 2319.
All right, so our next game is from another friend of the show, Thunderworks Games, and that is Citizens of the Spark, and they're going to be in booth 1363, and this game will be available for demo. So, in Citizens of the Spark, it's basically going to be a card game of where you are collecting citizens in the form of these cards, with typically about 7 to 10 different citizen types in a given game. And then there's about 30 types of citizens total in the box. So a lot of replayability here from the different types of cards that you can select that you're going to play your individual games with. What you're ultimately doing is you're going to be collecting these citizens and leveraging them to take actions. And the more of a certain citizen type you have, let's say you have 3 citizens, you get a stronger action of that type or stronger bonus of having that type of citizen than if you had, say, 1 citizen of that type. So it definitely becomes a thing about you wanting to collect these citizens. Ultimately, you're trying to collect sparks. That's why it's Citizens of the Spark. And the sparks are going to be how you determine the winner of the game. So I'm really interested to see more about Citizens of the Spark, how it works, and get a little more detail on this one, and also find out when it's going to come out. Because as I see more about this game, I'm actually far more intrigued than I thought I was going to be about it, and I'm really looking forward now to seeing what this game is really about.
Yes, plus we need to make sure our collection of Thunderworks games is complete.
All right, so that is Citizens of the Spark from Thunderworks Games at booth 1363. They'll have plenty of other titles there, so make sure you check them out.
Yes. And so the last one on our list today is Oranges and Lemons by Medusa Games. And they do not have a booth. It looks like they are just in Hall A, the orange section, and doing ticketed demos. But I do not have a ticket to demo the game yet, but I do plan to stop by and kind of peer over people's shoulders if I can to get a look at the game. This game is based on a traditional English nursery rhyme, which I had never heard this nursery rhyme before. Maybe it's really popular and I never had, but I did look it up. And this is definitely an older child adult game. This is not a game designed for the 6-7-year-old kids. Okay. So I was looking at the nursery rhyme and I'm kind of curious on how they work some of the things into it. And yeah, so it's worker placement and you have this selling oranges and lemons and how that cascades down to getting other stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's, you don't see many games based on a nursery rhyme that are not geared towards really young children. So it piqued my interest.
Well, and anytime there's ticketed demos for any game in the halls A through D, yeah, it's quite often that people don't show up or whatnot. So if you show up with some generic tickets, chances are good you can get into some of those demos. So hopefully they'll even have a couple of generics. I should probably do that
instead of just look over people's shoulders. Yeah. That's probably the more polite thing.
Maybe you have a shot of getting to try it.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that's Oranges and Lemons by Medusa Games in Hall A Orange Tables.
Awesome. Well, I think that concludes our list of games we're excited about. again, you can pop over to our podcast and check out more games, including picks from the rest of the crew. We will be doing a future video for the expansions we're excited for. So just focused on expansions. And there are a lot of expansions coming out of Gen Con this year.
Oh, a lot.
Quite a few that I think are almost must-buys for us, or they will be must-adds for our collection. And we're going to do a video about some of the games that are on the list that say they're releasing at Gen Con that we already have copies of, either because we were Kickstarter backers or through some other mechanism. They're sitting in retail and we actually bought a copy of it. So until then, we hope you enjoyed this. We hope there are some games that you now want to check out that you just found out about on this show. If there's another game that you're excited about that we didn't cover, drop it in the comments below. We really appreciate it, and chances are good we'll probably stop to check it out. Hey there, it's Conesy. Thank you so much for watching. We put out videos weekly here at WiscoDice. Check out our channel for more great videos, and don't forget to subscribe. We also have more great content on our website at WiscoDice.com. Of course, we do this all for you, the viewers. So please like the video if you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.